Welcome back to We Haven't Figured Out a Name for You Guys Yet. So we don't know what to call
Welcome
you.
back to Hitting the Bars.
Welcome back, my beautiful people, you stunning, magnificent listener. We love you already. It's love at first sight.
Our beautiful mimosa lovers.
Oh, post-workout mimosa lovers.
Yes, even better.
Yeah.
We have an exciting episode today, though.
We've got two different perspectives on the concept of boobs, plastic surgery, breast implants. We both have them, and we're going to talk about them.
Just straight up boobs.
Sounds like a 6-year-old. Like
Real mature. Yeah, that's us.
Real mature Bradley. Anyone?
Can't wait
remember?
to chat. No, what is that
my
from?
God. It's from some show. I can't remember. I probably am.
Yeah, don't even know.
No, that was some cartoon Nickelodeon thing, I feel.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so some context. I got breast implants 10 years ago. Sav, you got them a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Like a year and a couple months.
Yeah, and so we thought it'd be fun to talk about them because we get a lot of questions, and we are coming from two perspectives because Sav just got her in, and I'm getting mine out in a month.
Yeah. And it's funny because we both met, kind of right after I'd gotten mine in. We met a year ago.
Yeah.
And I remember not knowing if you had implants. And I was with you in Denver. And I was like, odd question. Are your boobs real? And you were like, no. And I'm like, all right. Now I get it. So we both went for the very, very subtle. People don't really know.
Yeah, very much. And it's always been funny because I always have that sly question because, sorry, people, like you said, I went for a very natural look but I'm also quite lean. So people are like, okay, they're not that big, but girls usually that tall and skinny don't have boobs. So it was kind of always this question. And I even got comments about it. And I never really addressed it because I myself didn't even know if I liked them. So I didn't even know how to tell people. So that's something we'll dive into in this episode, but we both definitely went the au naturel, unnatural.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my goal with my doctor. I was like, I really want people to be confused. I want them to question if that's just my natural body, and maybe they're just a little extra perky. Because now that I know, what natural boobs do look like, dependent on, you always hear that myth that if you sleep in a bra, they'll stay perky forever. Have you heard this?
I have, but isn't it been debunked that you almost want to do the opposite now? I've heard that. I could be totally wrong. But
I don't know.
I've heard now they're doing, we're excluding feeding children and stuff like that, natural sickness. But then some people are saying it's when if you wear an ankle brace, once again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just another side of the argument is if you wear ankle brace too much, your ankles become weak. So even though they're supported, so there's a little bit idea. Some people wonder if you never wear a bra, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. So
shooting shit.
If anybody knows, I guess comment on the Instagram page because I'm curious because I never even heard about it because I was a double A. So I never even thought about it. I just didn't wear bras because no bras fit me properly. And yeah, I love the no bra in life. No bra on it. # no bra on it.
Free the nip, whatever you want to go, no bra in it.
Yes.
That should be the new motto, no bra in, because I can't remember last time I wore an actual bra. Unless I only wear a bra with the mentality that it's being taken off by someone.
Whoa.
It's the only time.
Saucy.
Only time there's an actual bra.
See, this is I think the difference between you having yours for a while and me being freshly new with boobs. I never had anything. Yeah. So I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm wanting to wear a bra all the time because I can. Something fills my bra. It excites me, I'm heck yes. But I will say bras are incredibly uncomfortable with implants if you have pads. At least for the first year, I've noticed it's it makes my scars really sore.
Oh, that's interesting. I find for me, and it's funny, almost the opposite has happened because I find I could wear bras, like you said, but they're more like an ornament when I wear a bra. There's no actual support because mine sits so high on my chest that when I wear a bra, it doesn't even support them. So there's really no point of wearing a bra because they hang above because and if I hike up the bra enough so it is supported, they are out there. It is like, wow, not safe for children's eyes.
They are like, hello, Keltie
like,
has a reason.
I am here to show the world.
I'm fabulous. But that is, you do have like a naturally like higher, what would that even be called? I don't know. They sit higher on you, because I remember asking if you had high profile. And for those that don't know, high profile is basically like how full your implant's going to be. Like chest. Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
How do I word it to? It's like they're narrow and they're more protrudent. Like they stick out. Or you could do like a low profile where they're more wider and sit more natural. So I thought you had high profile at first. And then you were like, no, this is just my natural body, which I think is interesting. And I'm sure we'll get into this, because I even went into my boob job thinking, I showed him a picture of a girl I wanted. And I said, make me this. And he said, just so you know, your body, your chest, your sternum is completely different. You will never have natural cleavage because they're far away. Like it's just interesting how your natural body does take a part in this, and how they will look. Like there's no cookie cutter boob job that's just gonna give you exactly what you expect.
Oh, fully. And like that's even just perspective with what happened to me. I did not want high profile at all, because I was like, I want this natural, like looking low. Like I even at first was going to get like 375 cc is like the volume of it, but I was like, right before I went in, I was like, no, 325. I don't want them to be that big. And I remember getting out of the surgery and then being so high, and I was like, oh my god, like, but they usually drop, and a year and a half later they still hadn't really dropped. But just to put into context that like I don't even think there's any consensus of like what is really high, what is low, because mine sit high, but they poke out like crazy. Like that's actually the part I hate the most about them, is the side boob and how much of a gap there is. And that's just my body type. Like I have girlfriends, I think 3 of my best friends also have them. And like, it's crazy how different we all have. Like 2 of them sit really close together and they're a bit lower, very round, versus me and my one other friend, they sat really high and went really wide. And it's just, you can't really pick. Like you can pick a few things, but at the end of the day, your body's going to adapt to them how it adapts.
Yeah. Which I kind of love that, because you still get to be you and it's still your body.
True.
I mean, even when I was like going to all these doctors asking them like, can you get me to look like this? They were, the number one thing they'd always say is your chest is different. Like they told me I would never have cleavage unless I wore like a hardcore bra. And like, that's solely because like my chest, like I guess my breasts sit further apart. And so it was really hard. Even if you were to go bigger in volume in cc's, you'd still like lack that ability to have natural cleavage. So it was just something I had to come to terms with, and I've learned to love it. And it is just interesting. I mean, I even went 285 cc's, which for those that are familiar with boob jobs, that's like a relatively small procedure, like, or small cc. And honestly, I feel like ours almost look the same size. Like you just never know. Everyone's body's different. Everything's going to react differently. There's no right or wrong. I used to be like, oh, this person got 300 cc's. I have to get that. And I look back at that and I'm like, my body, I am shorter than them, or maybe I'm larger than them, or whatever it was, that I'm like, why was I basing it off of someone else's body?
Yeah. Oh, fully. And that's even like you and me, we look like we have very similar sizes. But then like we take into account, like I have very broad, wide shoulders. And not that you don't, you have muscular shoulders, but that's probably why, just like the comparison, I needed like a bit bigger to match. Or like, it's just, you can't just ever look at someone. And if you are considering breast implants or plastic surgery, if you go to a doctor and they're like, oh yeah, I can 100% get that, that's a red flag. Because this goes 100%. This goes with anything with your body. A personal trainer, someone who's doing injectables, which we'll talk about in future episodes, like Botox and lips, and especially plastic surgery, they can kind of guarantee a little bit when they're really, well experienced. But at the end of the day, you don't know how your body's going to react. So if they're like, oh no, I can do this, they're kind of full of hogwash.
Hogwash. I love that. Hogwash. Hogwash.
Where's that's that what I'm taking from? From this video. What is hogwash? Where does that come from?
Dude, I don't even know. Urban Dictionary is. That was like, we looked up, Keltie texted me the other day and said, can you help me with this TikTok? And it had the reference of good. And I'm like, what is even good mean? And so then I Google it for you on Urban Dictionary, and I'm like, dude, that means weed, like marijuana. And I just thought it was so funny because neither of us knew that. Because everyone uses that term. I had no idea what that even meant.
Well,
why is that the good?
It's one of those things that, like, I knew it meant weed, but, like, I've used it so much for so long that, like, I never associated it. I was like, because that used to be like, the good, pass the good, you know what I mean? But then I was
I never knew that. I was never really invited to, like, parties in high school, so maybe that was it, because I literally have never, I've heard that as, like, candy or, like, the good, like, just slang. So I had an epiphany in that moment. You must have been like, Sav, I knew this already.
I was like, oh, she missed my joke, because it was supposed to be me handing the good to my friend, like calling Gymshark leggings the good, like calling them like weed. But obviously my joke did not fly.
I mean, I understood good meant something good. I literally was like with Michael, and I'm like, did you know this? I don't think he knew it either. So we both were like, wow, learn something new every day, folks.
I will say Vancouver is like Seattle, if you're not from here. It's very much, weed has been a way of life. I don't even smoke it. It's nothing against it. It just does not work for me. But
the irony, I grew up in Seattle.
Right? And that's why I was like, kind of laughed. I was like, but Vancouver, it's legal in Canada. It's been shifty eye legal in Vancouver for a long time.
Is it not actually legal in Vancouver?
No, it is, and it has been for a while. But I mean, even when it wasn't, it was, if that makes sense. Like, it was like,
yes.
It's been decriminal. Like, I don't know the terminologies, but anyways, if you talk to anyone in Canada, you say Vancouver, weed is one of those things that just kind of pops into their mind.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a little fun.
I feel like it's Pink Floyd for, no, oh my God, excuse me. I think it's Nirvana for Seattle. But that, that comes with a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
So that was where they were raised, Nirvana.
Yeah, love it. Okay, but back to another taboo topic. Shiny object. Okay, so let's just dive into simply why we both got them. I know it's fresh to you. So, like, what inspired you to get boobs? Like, why did you want them?
Yeah, I have always wanted them. I grew up, and this is a hilarious memory for me that I will never forget. I remember we got this pamphlet. I went to this public school that they teach public health, right? Like, once you hit 4th or 5th grade, and they try to teach you, like, your periods and, getting boobs and things like that. And I had this pamphlet, and I remember I would keep it by, like, my bedside, and I would read it, and it was talking about, like, becoming a woman. And I was like, oh my gosh. And in this pamphlet, it said 2 years after you develop your breasts is when you get your period. And I was like, wait, when's mine coming? And I never developed breasts, and I was very confused the day I got my period. I was an early bloomer too. I was like, oh my gosh, they skipped it. And I just kept waiting for them to come in, and they never did. And I was a double A, and like it wasn't very proportionate to my body. And I think that was what really drove me to always wanting to get a boob job. I still thought it was beautiful. Honestly, I think small breasts are like the most flattering, easiest thing to also have. I still rocked like halter tops and things like that. But I just like had no form of cleavage, and I didn't feel as feminine as I wanted to. And I'm not saying that's your only way to feel feminine, but that was just a big reasoning was I wanted to feel a little bit more proportionate in my body, and I wanted to be able to wear, some bikinis that like, I just felt a bit more girly, not girly, sexy in, I guess. So that was what drove me overall, and I knew I'd always get one. And once I could pay in full, I didn't want to have any, payments on it. I wanted to be able to afford this on my own fully. That's when I started searching for a doctor, and I went to a couple doctors, and I was very adamant on like, I want this natural. I want it, like I am an athlete. Like I want to be able to do all my workouts, and I don't want my breasts to be like hanging out of my sports bras. Like I just want it to really flatter my body. And I would go to some doctors that would tell me that I couldn't do less than 300 cc's because it was a waste of time. Yeah. They were like, that's not enough change. Like go bigger, go better. Like that's the better way to go. You might as well. And so I had to really fight for that, which I think if anyone is in that boat, like stick to your ground, run from that doctor that keeps pressuring you. Cause I had one that would not stop. like pressuring me to get it. And I'm so happy I ended up going with a doctor that understood my vision and understood what I wanted and made that happen. And that's how I am here today.
Oh my God, I love that. It's so funny. I resonate so much with the boobs never coming. Like there's one moment that sticks out like a sore thumb. When I was in grade 6, I was sitting in the back classroom and I was with, there's 20 girls in my elementary school and like 5 guys in my class. So it was like very girl. And all the girls in my class for the most part had older sisters. So I felt they all like knew about all this stuff and I didn't. And I remember sitting in the back corner and them all talking about their bras. And they're like, oh, well, I got this and this. And I'm sitting there just like staring down at my chest, be like, bra? Just be like, wait, what? And like flat as a board. Like there was no way. And I just remember being like, okay, one day I'll have boobs that I'll need to wear a bra. Because they were talking about like, oh, I need it, da da da. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. And just that day never came. That day never came that I needed a bra. And so, but it was funny, just like even that resonates with me. But I guess the one kind of funny thing, and this is just my self-deprecating humor, I used to always joke about my small boobs when I was in like high school, beginning of the university. I used to be like, oh, my boobs, and kind of like joke about I'm going to get a breast implant. But deep down, I did like my like size. I just felt it matched my body. Like I never really was like, oh, I want breast implants. I felt my boobs matched the rest of my body. I'm not curvy anywhere. So it was just like, it would stick out like in an odd way if I did. But then when I got into I got into the fitness industry and started getting into modeling. So I was getting into modeling in my early 20s. And they did always tell me that like, you know what, you should lean more towards the sports modeling, fitness modeling side, because I had such broad shoulders and like just even being quote unquote skinny, I always had muscle definition. So like back then it was like, we don't want you. You have a calf? No, go away. And then so when I got into the sports modeling and more into like the bodybuilding, fitness world and all that, back then, this was like this would have been almost 10 years ago. It was just like an unwritten rule being like, no, you need boobs. Like, it's just like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just like, you have to. Like, it's just, people won't look at you. Your body's not right being this lean, having muscle and not having boobs, which is so and I was never like, trying to be in this crazy deficit and shredded or anything, but it was kind of this weird culture that like you have to be so shredded that you lose your boobs that you need to go get surgery to get boobs, which is like so absurd when you think about it. And like that was just the culture. But I just remember being so rational about getting them in a weird way. It was very transactional, I guess would be like, once I bartended for a summer, got the money and was like, I need this for my career. I'm going to go get boobs. And it was just like, there was no like, oh, do I want this? There's no self-awareness, but it was an odd self-awareness enough that I was like, oh, no, I want this. This is for my confidence. I've always been self-conscious about my boobs. Like I'd say that, but deep down I was like, no, I like styling my chest. I think it fits. And yeah, I got them, and not because I wanted to, because I not to put blame, like at the end of the day, it was my decision, you have willpower, but it was definitely the idea of like, oh, this is a career move. This would be better for my career if I do this.
Yeah, which is crazy, and I'm sure a lot of women would relate to that, depending on like what their career path is, or even just society in general. You know, making comments if you're so lean that you just have pecs, whatever it may be. Like, I totally understand that people. Sorry, Bentley is having a hairball in the moment. I understand like people feel so much of that pressure, so I think it's great that we have these like contrasts, and I don't think it takes away from either of our stories, because like I personally wanted them, not because anyone made comments about them, where like you wanted them solely because you were getting those comments, or you had that expectation when you started bodybuilding.
Yeah, exactly. And so I got into that whole world. It was just purely like, you need this to succeed, and you're just like not it was a weird, and this we'll talk about later, and it was this weird like, I felt feminine, I felt my body match, or yeah, I'd say, but it was more like society being like, no, you don't have boobs, you're not feminine. And like there's a difference, because obviously boobs are a very, woman feature, like for, they're supposed to be milk for your babies, lack of a better term. Like there's an actual practical, but I just never felt for myself, I wanted them to feel, it was just more, I was like, oh, society says I'm not, so I have to get that to feel more feminine. And I think that's like a lot of deep diving, and that's why even though our stories sound different, they're kind of the same in a deep-rooted way of like what makes you feel most feminine. And that's been an exploration in my 20s for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. on that note, we're going to do a little pivot.
I thought you had another point.
That's that was maybe I meant to. And you're like, and I was like, oh no, that was.
You were just staring at each other.
We were like having a moment, staring into each other's eyes.
Yes, about our boobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if you think about it, though, we have like even opposite body types too. Mm-hmm. Like you said, like I am very, very curvy. Yeah. And always have been, like big legs, bigger butt, like, and so that's where my off balance, where yours it fit way more to have. Like it's just so interesting, the contrast of everything.
Exactly. And that's where it's like it's a celebration to your body. Like for you're like, I want to feel more feminine, I want it to match my body, I want to feel good. And that's all it really comes down to. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel sexy? And like you said, if you have a body type like me and you want boobs, that's fine. I just look at myself in the mirror and it's just like one thing sticking out a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it becomes like, they're just like, especially when I go to the side, like I'm built like a board. Like I'm built like, I've kind of a tapered waist just because I have wide shoulders, but like no hips, no thighs, like nothing. And then suddenly just this boobs that stick out. Like once I'm in a bikini, it's so obvious they're not mine. But like when I'm in a sports bra and shorts and that, it's kind of like, but once I'm on the side in a bikini, it's like, oh girl, what have you done?
Girl, we know. We know those aren't real.
Yeah, don't try them. I'm like, I'm not. I'll tell you. You can come touch them. They feel like a gummy bear.
Yeah, does yours feel like hard still, or do they feel soft?
Like, I guess they're not like hard, where like sometimes like actually we can talk about this in a second, like the recovery. Like some people recover and they get like capsule contractions and it gets really hard. For me, mine did soft. I even seen a plastic surgeon recently. She's like, oh, you recovered really well. They're like soft capsules. But like if you grab them, there's no way these feel like boobs. Like it's so obvious. Like I'm groping myself right now, but they feel like a gummy bear. Like it's so, because there's no actual breast tissue. It's all just a gummy bear.
Yeah, that's what I thought was so interesting. Like, with my doctor, he's like, they're always going to be a bit more firm, solely because I didn't have a lot of breast tissue to start with. Some girls that go from, like, a C to, like, wanting to be a double D, they have a little bit more leeway. It can look really natural, where, like, sometimes if you come from nothing, there's not a lot to, like, deceive. Or, so, like, mine still feel pretty hard solely just because I didn't have a lot of tissue. And if I had gone any bigger than probably like 350, whatever it was, I could have had a risk of bottoming out, which basically means you don't have enough breast tissue to support the implant.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, that was a huge thing. All of the doctors would tell me. One doctor wanted to put synthetic mesh just to be safe and support it, because I had that much of like no boobs that they all would tell me, like, this will be difficult if you want to go larger. They were like, you can start small and go bigger, but who wants to have multiple surgeries?
I know.
My doctor was like, that is a big reason why I went small, was you just run less of a risk. If you just don't have that breast tissue, it can be really hard. I know a girl that got her implants redone 4 times. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Every time I would see her, because she was bottoming out, because her breast tissue could not support it, and they would put the synthetic mesh, and sometimes it'd work, sometimes it didn't. And I'm pretty sure 4th time was a charm. I haven't seen her recently, but it doesn't look like she's had surgery anytime soon. But that was even a nightmare for her. She regretted getting them solely because she spent so much money, so much recovery time on getting these corrected. No. Yeah. So there's definitely, we'll jump into it, the pros and cons of these things. And I also want to say that, like, Keltie and I aren't telling you guys, we're not encouraging you to get implants. We're not encouraging, like, wanting you to be scared of implants. Like, we literally are just sharing our story as if we are on FaceTime chatting and just being transparent. And I think that's really what we want from this podcast, is just to be realistic about things and open the conversation.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, for those people out there who've considered it, we want you to have a good perspective from someone who's done it. We don't want to pressure anyone who's not considering it. It's more of a just, I find listening to stuff about plastic surgery, I won't probably get any other kind of plastic surgeries, but I love listening to it because it's just fascinating. So it's just, it's half entertainment, half learn from us, but by no means, and you'll probably learn later on when you hear bit my perspective, it's not going to be for everybody. And some people it is for, though. So we just really want to destigmatize all perspectives of it.
Yes. Preach.
Okay, we just briefly mentioned this a few times, but how was your recovery after? Like, how long until you could get in the weight room? Like, how much time did you take off? Like, what was that like?
Dude, my recovery was rough. I was in like so much pain after. The anesthesia made me feel so nauseous. That was like probably the worst part. And like, I don't know, I just had a really rough time recovering for about a month. Just sore, and I really struggled sleeping. You have to sleep on your back for months, you know, like that. It was rough, and I did not expect it. And then I probably I think I got cleared after 6 weeks. My doctor was like really hesitant though. So I probably waited like a solid 3 to 4 months to even do any form of upper body. He said, you know, after 6 weeks, you can get into the gym, do some body weight. You can get your heart rate back up again. But he didn't really want me lifting if it involved, you know, clenching or anything like that with your chest or your pecs, which a lot of your workouts, a lot of weightlifting does weirdly involve those. So yeah, I mean, it's been over a year and I still can only do a couple push-ups. And I think that's mostly like my own mental roadblock of me thinking like, because when you do them, they feel weird. They pull apart because they're not natural. They are a foreign object in your body. So I think it freaks me out. And every time I'll do a push-up, I try and baby step it, but I've never fully gotten back to the recovery, at least quite yet. But I am working on it. I feel normal when I train. It's just
classic YouTuber podcasters, technical difficulties, and we are back. So if there's a weird pause, you know why.
Yes, that is why. And now we are jumping into Keltie's recovery.
So for me, it was quite similar in that I think they told you 6 weeks you can get back to weight training. So it was like after a week of rest, 2 weeks, you could start walking, and then like you could get your heart rate up in 6 weeks and then start doing upper body. But I was the same way. After 6 weeks, I was like, my upper body is not there. So I started training lower body, running. But I also have, once again, this is not scientifically proven, but it just logically makes sense that people who have quite a bit of muscle going into it, especially chest muscle, so people like us who weightlift, you're cutting a bigger muscle. So it makes sense that it's going to be a longer recovery. You think it'd be the opposite because you're healthy. You are healthy, so your body recovers, but actually just getting to do the chest movement, it's an injury. You forget, like if you were to cut your quad, you would think like it takes time to recover. You almost got to think you're cutting your pectoral muscle. And so the recovery definitely takes longer. And that was a big eye-opener. And that's a big reason, probably actually the foundation to why I'm getting rid of them is it's taken me a long time to just be comfortable with push-ups. Like you can do it. And a lot of people told me like you can get back to 100%. And I guess, but I also think you kind of do sacrifice some upper body performance if you do get them. Your range of motion, and anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong, because just I use a golf swing or a tennis swing. There's something in the way. So regardless, that's going to change. So I know that was one. And for me, I do push-ups slightly different than most people. So now I'm comfortable. Now I kind of found the form, but it's not 100% push-up form because it's just uncomfortable. And there is always a risk of rupture. It's very rare, but there is always that risk. So I did it. And I used to be able to, not to humbly brag about my glory years, but I used to be able to like easily crank out 10 chin-ups. And now I can't. And it's not really, I probably could. And there's plenty of girls, we see it like Morgan, another Gymshark athlete, she's a high level gymnast. She has breast implants and she's got better at acrobatics. That's the word, acrobatics than anybody. And so there's proof that yes, you can do it. But for me, that feeling is the absolute worst thing. It makes you want to vomit of like trying to do a pull up with it. It's like this weird, like it just feels like they're ripping underneath just because this is like odd pressure. And for me, I just got so fed up of like so much of my training and goals right now are just very upper body involvement and a lot of like jumping and all this, and it's just they get in the way. And so that's definitely something you can be like a Morgan, and a lot of people will. There will be some people who it won't be an issue in recovery, but I'm just one of those people that I'm like, you have to go into it understanding there's a chance that upper body movements will never be the same.
Yeah, for sure. It didn't even dawn on me that we were cutting it. Like I understood we were cutting into muscle, right? Like the goal for that is to make it look more natural, things like that. But it was, I was a gymnast, like right when I was young. So like I was gymnastics and I did volleyball, but I was first and foremost like bar. So when you're competing on the bar in gymnastics, it's solely upper body, core strength, chest, everything like that. And so like all of my training up until now, I could literally crank out, like, I remember my dad would make bets with me, like $20, you can't do 20 push-ups. And I'd be like, watch me. Yeah. Like that was something I was so prideful, was my upper body strength. And I have gotten it back in my shoulders and things like that, but I'm just hesitant to do the chest. But yeah, I get that where like it's not going to be the same. And I'm coming to that conclusion of like even dips and push-ups that I used to just crank out like no other. It's either I need to work towards them because it has only been a year and I haven't really fully put effort into doing it. Or, you know, I also don't feel like I have to do them all the time anymore. I'm like, you know what? If it makes me uncomfortable, then that was what I sacrificed. I don't have to do them all the time.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just one of those cost benefits you just have to weigh of like what's worth it to you. And like not everyone has to do push-ups if you don't want to, but that's even just we hope this podcast provides this insight, and a big reason we're doing it is just that perspective. If you are considering, because right there that was a real like ding 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 moment when you said it was so obvious that, yeah, you're cutting into muscle, it'll be a bigger recovery. It's sometimes not, because when you go into these surgeries, they're going to be like, okay, you can go under the muscle or above the muscle. You go above the muscle, they'll look a lot more fake because you'll see the implant if you don't have much breast tissue. So because you and me didn't have much breast tissue, we're like, put it under our muscle, it will look a lot more natural, which seems like, why wouldn't you? But then it will down the road have a lot of costs as well. So just, we hope like you kind of have those light bulb moments if you are considering throughout this, just being, oh, I didn't even think about that. Because there's so many things that I did not process until I actually got them. And I was like, oh, that I didn't expect that. Like, here's a really weird one. Actually, we have this plan of some funny things that have happened since I got boobs. I can't properly shave my armpits.
What? Oh, wait, because you can't see the hair?
So no, how it works, because I'm so wide and like I have a very like, I don't know how it is, I just don't carry any fat on my arms. Like it's around my gut. Real cute, I know. But my arms have always been long and lean. And so I don't have above my breast tissue any tissue, and I have muscle, and then my boob sticks out. So I don't know if we can get a video or something. If you're on YouTube, I'll try and post it. I have this like flap that sticks out. So most girls put their arm up and they just shave up and down. I got this thing that sticks out that like I kind of got to do this like acrobatic, and I've never ever in 10 years been able to properly shave. So I have to eventually go out of the shower, take tweezers, do this like crazy arm and pluck. Otherwise I can't do it. I can't properly shave my armpits.
That plucking, that is, I thought you meant because like your boobs are in the way, you have to move them. That is crazy that you have to pluck your armpit hairs, girlfriend.
Because there's no way to get the shave. Like, it just kind of like, I'm just like hitting something. Like, there's no, like, it's maybe someone's figured out. But whenever I see those commercials, like girls like, just arm up, nicely shaved. I was like, oh, must be nice. I can't get that.
Not me.
So, no. Do you have any like weird things that you've noticed from your boobs that like you did not expect?
Yeah, I did not expect, I don't know why I thought that like getting them in would just feel incredibly natural. And I'm sure some women do, where they're like, it's like I've had them my whole life. But I remember the first time I could lay on my stomach, they feel weird. They feel like mini hard little pillows on you, and it's like uncomfortable sometimes because they're just like sitting there. And I just never occurred to me that like these are not natural and that I'm going to feel these lumps. Like that was probably one of the strangest things that like no one really tells you to expect, which I'm sure a lot of girls like they don't even think about that. But for me, I sleep on my stomach. So that really like put a dent in it. Yeah, I had to like learn to sleep on my side, and I still sleep on my stomach. It's not like it's horrible. I just found that weird because I just thought it'd be like, oh, like my boobs again. And it never was.
Okay. It's like, I'm a side sleeper, but even like I just love to lay on my stomach sometimes. It is the worst feeling. It's just so uncomfortable. It's just, how I describe it, go wear a really tight sports bra and just stuff it with hard things and go and lay. And it's like that pressure of the sports bra, but also this hardness. And like, that's what you're constantly laying on. And also though, here's another thing. if you're considering breast implants, I'm just realizing this. I think I realized this when I was 28. I was like, oh my God. So I sleep on my side because they're bigger and there's a gap. They kind of fold in. So a wrinkle started to form down there.
A boob wrinkle?
So it was like
boobicle. No.
A boinkle? A
boinkle?
Boinkle. Yeah. Okay, new turn of phrase. A boinkle.
A boinkle started to form.
I like, it goes away. So it's like, but that's what wrinkles are. They're like the little things, and then they stay longer and longer, and they don't go away. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to have like a wrinkly chest before I'm even 30. I was like, what's going on? So I was like, started applying retinol to it, but I now sleep with a pillow between my boobs. So they like, so there's a little, I'm not kidding. I like pregnancy pillow. I was like, I'm not getting no wrinkles on my chest. But that's another thing to consider, that if you have like the wide set apart, yeah.
Wow,
put your retinol in your chest.
News to me. I'm only a year in. I have yet to see a wrinkle. I'll keep you updated.
I was like, I'm 10 years in, so add that. I did, though. I started adding retinol cream.
Yeah.
And that's helped a lot. So retinol's not just for your face. I'm not a dermatologist. That was medical advice I shouldn't be giving, but I'm doing it and it's working.
There you go. I'm trying to think if I've had any other weird ones. My scars never fully healed. So that's like always something I have to take into account when I wear like bikinis and things like that. Like they just kind of stay dark. I don't know if it's due to my skin color or I don't know how my body heals. I have no idea. But it took a really long time for them to even like not be like brown or blue anymore. And yeah, like they were dark. And now like they're just thick. Like I've seen Michael's sister has implants and hers are like minimal. Like I cannot even see her scars. You can really see my scar. And like she got hers like 2 months before me and hers has healed. And mine, like it's more than a year. I should have had them heal a little bit better. So granted my body, when it scars, it stays. Like I have this like huge scar still from like a hair straightener on accident or things like that I just need to be proactive on. But that was something that I was like, oh, I thought these would just disappear, and they don't.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, just that goes with perspective. Mine disappear. Like, you can barely see them. Like, you really have to, like, get up in there, and you're like, oh, it's a little discolored, but I'm happy. But the only thing I really hope for, because like you said, I didn't really want bigger size. The one thing I thought would happen, and it didn't, and I'm still to this day been like, God damn, the one thing you wanted, you didn't get. I thought by getting them, my nipple kind of points down a little bit. And you know how like when you see in like porn or just anytime you see just naked girls, like the ideal boob or whatever, the nipple's like right in the middle of the breast. So I thought, do you know what I mean? Like just think of like a breast. The nipple's like perfectly in the center. Just you know what I mean? That classic look.
Yeah, where are your nipples?
Well, I thought getting it would just poke it up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Make them perky.
Yeah, they are perky. That's the thing. It's weird. My boobs are perky, but the nipple is just kind of not exactly like, because they're not round. They're a bit more like tear shaped.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense. So, because there's a little bit of a slope just to how my boob is. And so I thought suddenly my nipple would go up. It didn't. It just stayed in the same place. I was like, God damn it.
I think though, my doctor, if your nipples go up, it shows a sign that something is wrong. Then again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. This was a year ago, but I remember him like examining my nipples for that. So
maybe
be thankful. Count your stars.
I'm just so healthy. Isn't it annoying? I'm just perfect. Just kidding.
You couldn't have them going up.
But we will talk about this too. Actually, it's actually just a good segue. Do we want to touch base on like breast implant illness and like blood work and all that? Do we want to jump in right now?
Let's do it. Well, you already introed it, so yes.
I know. So now I can't leave you hanging. Okay. The elephant in the room. Breast implant illness. If you didn't know what it is, it's not the medical bodies of the world haven't deemed it like an illness. Like that actually has to be certified. I don't know how that happens, but it hasn't been. But it's gaining a lot of traction. It's becoming a lot more common. And so I think they're kind of in that stages of trying to make it an actual illness or a disease. But yeah, the idea is you get the idea behind is you get the implant in, your body kind of rejects it for whatever reason. Some people think there's leakage. Some people think it's just inflammation, just a chronic stress to your body, autoimmune. There's a bunch of different ways. And that's also why it's not a disease. There's no real, this happens in that. So there's a couple of things I want to address to this. One, there has been research done that textured implants have been deemed a carcinogenic, and that's by the FDA, I believe, or the medical body. Anyways, that, and they've been recalled. So that is 100% legitimate. So that's been proven. And so if you do out there and you have textured implants, just go talk to your plastic surgeon, get it checked. We both, I know I have smooth. You have smooth, I'm assuming? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they cover it. They usually don't even offer that.
Yeah.
Like I think you can in certain areas. Like you could do textured, but it's just a disclaimer. It's known that you have a higher risk, I think, with textured, from my understanding when I went.
Yeah, I guess then that we're not medical professionals, so using proper medical terminology.
We're
it's
just
higher
two girls
risk.
and a microphone.
Higher risk. I dropped out before I went to vet school. Remember, college dropout. But yeah, so that is. And now I have not personally experienced anything. So that's a common thing. There's just a lot of case studies of girls who get them in and stuff starts happening with their body, whether it be their skin changes, their mood, their energy, their periods go off, they start getting weird hives. Like there's so many different things. I haven't experienced it in 10 years. Now, this is going to be a little controversial in some way, and I do not want to demonize or diminish, sorry is the correct term, these people's results, because it makes sense. Anytime you put a foreign body in your body, it makes sense your body can reject it. Especially if it does leak, it makes sense. Now, they do a lot of things to neglect this or just make sure there's less chance of you having these issues, but it can happen. And so you kind of have to be aware of anything. You put a pacemaker for your heart in. Sometimes your body rejects it. You get an implant, like a liver implant. Your body can reject it. It's just a reality of anything you do in your body. I got a bunch of blood work done. Just got it back. I did like a full panel, my thyroids, my liver, it just everything, and it came back like there was a few things like I would like to optimize my iron a little bit, stuff like that, but without diving into it, there's nothing that directly correlated with me seeming to have a negative effect from having these implants in. So what happens when you have this implant in? You get a capsule that builds around it, and that's very common in these breast implant illness like groups and all that. As they say, you have to get the capsule out. I'm choosing to keep my capsule in. I'm just going to be transparent with that right now because it is more invasive to take it out. And I'm not really feeling it. It's scar tissue that forms around, just like it's formed around any kind of heart implant, a pacer, a knee, anything like that gets formed. Scar tissue forms around it. And so mine's very thin, so I'm leaving it in. That is oddly a hot topic. Now, this is what I want to dive into. The breast implant illness Facebook groups. I'm probably going to get kicked out because I'm talking about this. So I can't go into detail. I don't want to I won't expose anyone's specific stories. But oh my God, I was like, you hear those horror stories of Facebook groups like being super political and just like echo chambers. Oh my God, one of them is it. I felt censored, lack of better terms, not to sound like some like, crazy political podcast or anything, but there's one really big one, and that's the most popular one that is like 100,000 people. And then I'm also in a group of a smaller one. And I left a comment. So you can add a comment, like you can put a comment and people respond and all this. And I just asked, I was like, you know what? I'm considering leaving my capsule in. Has anyone in this group left their capsule in? I would just love to know your experience. I don't really know. They wouldn't even let me, they deleted my post. They wouldn't even let me consider leaving in my capsule. Like, that's not even, it's like, no, it's so like in that Facebook group, it's so like, these are toxic bags, like get them out. And like I said, there is for sure women who have experienced getting these out and improve their, and I want to celebrate those women and I'm proud of you. But there's also a lot of women in there that lifestyles don't seem great and all blame is on the implant. Now, do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things like I don't want to say a scapegoat, but sometimes it was like, and I get it, they're trying to fight for an illness being proven as an illness. So they kind of the idea that it could not be, they're just trying to ignore it. But I was just like, I just want to weigh my own options. And it was like, no, you get them out, you get the capsule. And for me, that's a more invasive surgery. So actually there's a lot more risk of infection and all that when I don't have any negative side effects from this implant. Versus I'm in another group, which is very like, We don't take sides. We just are celebrating our experience. And I said that. And some girls were like, you know what? I got the capsule out. That was the best thing possibly for my health. It is completely changed. And there's other girls who are like, no, I left them in and I'm fine. I got other girls who are like, oh, I left them in and they dissolved after a couple of years. Some girls like, you know what? I left them in. They're still not dissolved. So it's one of those things. It's going to be different and you don't know. So that's a risk in surgery. You just don't know how your body's going to adapt, how your body's going to react to anything, any surgery. Anytime like you get your wisdom teeth out, there's complications. Like it's just a reality. But yes, that is where breast implant illness, there's definitely girls who are experiencing it, but I'm just going to go off. That's not why I'm getting it. I'm just very much like, yeah, I'm kind of over these things.
Yeah. And I get that. And we kind of talked about this prior where we thought it was important to bring up because, you know, Keltie got it done, 10 years ago, whatever it may be. And I got it done recently. And there's been a lot of research and development on breast implant illness. So when I was considering getting these in, I was extremely nervous about that. I was like, I don't know how my body's going to react. I've never had surgery. I've never had a foreign object in my body. That's natural. That's normal.
Oh,
who really has, right? And so a really big thing for me was I reached out to doctors that firsthand believed in it. Because there are some people that will dismiss it, and I think that's toxic. Because there are for sure women that are experiencing side effects from this. And yeah, you're right. There are risks in anything you do. You could literally get in a car and there's going to be a risk of you dying. So my doctor basically, we went over my medical history. We went over all these different components. He looked at my blood work and he had told me, I think you're a good candidate for this. As in like, I think it's less risk to have this illness. I am not going to like get into the details or anything, but he kind of eased my mind and like, after doing this research, like I think you'd be okay, but once again, there's always a risk that's involved. So then once I kind of found someone that, you know, heard me out, heard my worries, which I'm sure a lot of girls worry about that because people talk about it online and it scares the bejesus out of you. I mean, I was getting my implants as people were getting them out that I knew. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I wanted to make my own mind, you know, this was something I'd always wanted. So what I did was I talked to all types of people. I talked to women that removed them. I talked to women that had nothing but great things to say because sometimes I think that media can only put light on one certain subject that's socially acceptable or controversial, whatever it may be, and they're going to shine that brighter to scare you, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying it's not true, but I just didn't even know there are women out there that loved them. I didn't even know there's women out there that had no problems until I asked some of my friends. And I went to Morgan, I went to my friend Ashley, and I was like, hey, how are your experiences? What are your thoughts on this? And I just thought it was so helpful to just get perspectives from them that hadn't had these issues yet or hadn't had these issues at all. And at the end of the day, they said it's the pros and cons for you. I think if it's too much of a worry, if it's too big of a con, don't even bother getting it. Because you don't want to worry. You don't want to have them inside you and you're worrying about this. So it's just easier to just say, you know what? Boobs they're not the end all be all. You know, like we are beautiful with them and we're beautiful without them. I don't think my persona has changed at all with them, you know? So I think if you're worried about that, I just don't think it's worth it. I just don't think it's worth it to get it. It's not like it's a mandatory surgery. It is elective. And if you're so worried, why are you getting something that you're worried about?
Oh, fully. Because just if you're kind of in that, like, oh, I'm really worried, I want to get them, you could potentially have something in your body that you're constantly worried about, and that is stress. And if we know anything, if there's one thing every medical person can agree on, stress in excessive quantities is not good for your body. We can all agree on that. Just we all need water and we all can't be excessively stressed all the time. So if you have something in your body that you're constantly being like, is this making me sick? And you're just like what's it, hypochondriac? When you think everything, you're going to suddenly, and that's what I think happens to a lot of women too, is like, this is in them. Oh, they have a weird rash. It must be the breast implants. I'm like, or are you allergic to that clothing or laundry detergent? You know what I mean? And it's suddenly like, you're just, and that's so mentally taxing, thinking that something in you, for like we said, boobs, if you're going to get boobs, it should be fun. It should be a fun thing that you're like, these are awesome. Look at them go like that. It shouldn't be that it should be deep in how you research, but it's also boobs. It shouldn't be that deep in the sense that, you know what I mean? You should be like, I like these are cool. They make me more confident. But if they're going to cause you stress, and like I said, you have to go into it with that idea that potentially you could have those symptoms. Do you have a backup plan if that happens? And you have to just kind of weigh those pros and cons. Like you said, every time you get into a car, something could happen. Every time you go to a grocery store, like we literally had a pandemic. You never know what could happen. So I think that's just a reminder of just really weighing the odds, but talk to everyone, and especially talk to plastic surgeons. We kind of briefly mentioned this at the beginning. If your plastic surgeon is very black or white in their thoughts. Now, they can have beliefs, but they shouldn't pressure you. That's a red flag. They should be open to hearing your story, giving their professional opinion, but not paint it black or white. Like even I've seen a few surgeons about getting my implants, and the one I'm going with, I really liked that she was like, you know what? There is girls that experience this. We're going to go in there. We're going to check if there's anything alarming. We'll let you know. I'm going to do a biopsy. She's like, but honestly, looking at you, you're so healthy. Your capsules feel great. I don't think you have anything to worry about. So just knowing that she didn't go in there with the idea of like, no, there's breast implant illness or there's not. She went in with like, let's just see this patient, see where she's at mentally, what's best for her. And that's really important. Your plastic surgeon should make you feel very comfortable in your own body.
Yes, I completely agree. And I also think that we should turn to the professionals, medical professionals, before turning to solely the internet or solely I think that is so important. Even people listening to us, we are just two girls chatting. I just think when in doubt, in anything, I've even gotten people that message me like, hey, Sav, what birth control do you have? And I'm like, I'm not even going to tell you that because I don't want to influence you because my body is different. I recommend consulting a doctor. I am not fit to even tell you what I have because it could go completely south for you. So I just think it's so important to talk to those professionals that this is their studies. But at the same time, find a professional that you trust first and foremost, because I'm sure there's some people that's their business. They're going to dismiss that because they don't want to lose out on money. But if you find a good egg, that's when you keep them and you ask them and you hire them.
Okay, that's actually a perfect segue into just the cost. And we should talk about this because there is going to be varying things, and we have to realize that plastic surgeons, as much as they're health professionals, they're great. They're business people. They're trying to make a profit. They're making a lot of money off making you look pretty. And it's great. I love it for them. But there's slimy people in the world as well. And there's also, you get what you pay for in surgery, for sure. So it's an uncomfortable subject talking about money because by no means do we want this to come off as like, oh, we're just throwing around money. Our perspective, some people finance this. For me, how I made the money before I dive into the specifics, this was the stupidest investment of my entire life. I worked at Calgary Stampede. Cowboys, it's this party tent, this Albertan, Texan rodeo with DJs playing, and I bartended it. And I saved up all my money from bartending those couple of weekends. And instead of putting it to tuition, investment when I was 20, that I'd now be rolling in the dough, have a house. No, I bought boobs. There's nothing wrong with it, but looking back, that was a really bad return on investment. And so, but if it's something you want, that stuff, there's options out there. I know Sav save money. Some people have finance. I never really liked the idea of financing because it very much, what was that Will Smith show where they repo the body parts in the future? Was it? Okay, what's the show? Or was it Will Smith? Anyways, it's this idea that you can, what movie was that? Where in the future, dystopian future, you can finance different body types, but then the world goes crazy. And then so they if you can't pay back the bank, they'll just there's these police officers who will come and just take it out of you, because it's black market surgery. Anyways, this is getting dark. Anyways.
Oh my, this sounds so dark. I would never watch this.
You're listening
Only
to
happy
this?
Things.
I know, versus me, I'm give me darkness.
Yeah. I'm How I Met Your Mother and Friends only, please.
I was deep dive documentary on the black holes of the world. Yes, please. But anyways.
Let's go.
With that for me, that's I was I just don't like the idea that the bank owns something inside my body. So I got the money. For me, it was 10 years ago, so this little thing called inflation is probably a real thing, but it was about $10,000 plus tax. You do have to pay tax. That was Canadian. So for my Americans, That would be like just 8,000-ish USD back then. But I do feel, and Sav, you paid
around 13,000 USD.
Yeah, so it's about $5,000 difference about the two, but once again, 10 years ago. And mine, I think that's actually a nice rule of thumb. Like $10,000 is kind of the industry standard. If you're going to a really well-known professional that has a really good, like, it's just really hard to get into, they'll typically charge a bit more. And especially if it's in a high dense population city like Miami, LA, Vancouver, Toronto, those cities, and New York, it's just more people are getting plastic surgery there than in a little small town. So they can charge a bigger penny. So that's, from my experience, just having my friends who've done it, that's kind of what you can expect to pay. But talking to Sav, you mentioned that you saw people get like cheaper though than that.
Yeah, I know. Like you said, depending on where you go. Like if you go to Arizona, I've heard they're cheaper, or places that aren't as heavy on the plastic surgery. But I went to a couple doctors. Now I'm like, was it 13? I need to check this. Because I had all these different quotes. One was about 7,000. And he was still a great doctor in Orange County, but he didn't have all the bells and whistles in his office. You know, it was a very plain Jane office, but he was a really nice doctor. Sorry. It's okay. And then I went. The phone. You're good. I went to another doctor, the one that really pressured me, and he charged for a consult, and maybe he was 10,000. So yeah, I think mine was around 13 to 15, maybe. I'm like, it's been a year, so I have to look back at it. But yeah, for me, I think I split it up into 2 payments, and I'd save the money solely to a boob job fund that I had wanted for my entire life. So I was like, all right, I'm now an adult and I can do this. Let's go. But honestly, my feedback I went to a expensive surgeon. Like I think that is ridiculous to pay that much for this. And I went to him being like, oh, this is gonna be great. Like, gonna love it. And honestly, like, full transparency, I haven't had like the most amazing like follow-up care, and like they're not, you know, like I honestly think if I had gone to someone a little bit more affordable, it would have been just as good and I would have saved some money. So if I was to ever get this redone, I don't think I would look solely, I think I thought like, okay, if they're more expensive, maybe like then you know, I have less risk of them messing up or whatever maybe. I had this like huge fear, which I'm like, they're doctors, like why would I feel that way? But it, you know, I went to the Beverly Hills guy that I found through my friend, that the Dream Boobs, the girl that got him, that was her doctor. And yeah, I just like, one of my friends got them in Seattle, and she paid like, I think 7,000 and had such great service. She's like, oh, my doctor follows up on me with this, he does this. And I'm like, wow, I didn't get any of that. So I think dependent on the price, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say the more you pay, the better it'll be experience-wise, because I didn't get that. I think, of course, you know, maybe don't find a Groupon for your boobs. I think that's a little sketchy, but I would pay less going into this now, and not just an overpriced person that was known for all of these celebrity boob jobs.
Yeah, and that's so, like, it is such a, just like anything in life, they have celebrity clientele, so they can charge more, and because they have celebrity clientele, they have more marketing, so they're busier. Because they're busier, typically the busier you are, the more you can charge, because then like just people are willing to pay more because your name. And that's just like anything in life, like just clothing, cars, shoes, just like a brand name, celebrity, like a celebrity plastic surgeon is almost like the brand name of surgery. So there's a lot of cases that's not. Like, I've seen some of the best. This would be maybe a great example. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. A lot of you are like, what? It's actually got 1 million people. It's a decent size, but it's a small town, like a small city in Canada, not known for its plastic surgery. Like I said, it's a like, Alberta's the Texas. It is farmland and oil money, and just, you know, we drive our truck and we get our double. Like it's that kind of place. And my 2 best friends that recently got their boobs in the last couple of years have the nicest looking ones I have ever seen. I kid you not, they're those girls that they post a bikini pic and it blows up. Yeah. They're just they're perfect. They're stunning. There's everything you'd want, and it's from Edmonton. And it's probably, and living in Vancouver, I'm paying more than they are. But it makes sense because there's less people in Edmonton getting plastic surgery. So there's not just, they have to entice people from other cities to come. So it's a little cheaper versus Vancouver and those cities like, oh, they'll come to us so we can charge more. So there's a bit of that as well. You just have to take into account. And also you have to take into account everything around it. So a lot of people, I know when I was looking in Vancouver, people gave me so many recommendations of go here, here, and here. But then you're paying for travel. You're not going to be able to fly on a plane after, so you're going to have to stay in a hotel. So that also taken into account, traveling to a cheaper doctor won't always necessarily make it cheaper.
Yeah.
And you have to take into account that recovery. I know my plastic surgeon, I actually decided to go with multiple reasons, but it's nice she's in Vancouver. So I can stay home. I can instantly be back home after surgery. I don't have to stay in a hotel. I don't have to travel. I don't have to be in a plane for a couple hours after. And so there's a lot of things to take into account there. And there should, though, be a minimum you pay. Like if you're getting Groupon deal, that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, beware. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Ooh, just wait, before I forget, though. One thing that will make a difference is Nikki, if any of you guys know Nikki Blackheader. I don't want to talk too much because it's her story, but she's posted about it on YouTube. So I feel a little comfortable saying. She mentioned she didn't get it with anesthesia. So she just locally got frozen, which some girls do. So she didn't get put under. And because of that, she saved quite a bit of money. So that is for taking them out. I don't think you can do that for putting them in, but for taking them out, you can just choose to locally freeze it. And get it out, but I just decided to go under because I just mentally can't have that image of like seeing my boob come out. I can't do it, so it would just knock me out.
I would love to get Nikki's perspective on that because that would be fascinating and also terrifying.
I know, she just seems like a badass cool chick that she's like, I kind of want to see
totally.
Versus I'm like,
she's like, why not?
I was like, no, they're just gonna just coping mechanism. Just pretend it didn't happen. Just pretend it didn't happen.
I'm like, knock me out, doc.
I'll take the drugs. I'll take them all.
Yeah, I'll do anything.
Speaking of that, I guess we should just maybe feel like talk from the two perspective of me, just to kind of wrap this up, put a nice little bow on it of, I guess, why I'm getting them out and where you see yourself going with them, how after you're fully recovered, how confident you are with them. So I'll let you take it, but like, how has the experience getting them? Do you see yourself having them? Are you really happy? Do you where do you stand with them currently?
Yeah. Personally, I love them. And I mean, I'm a year in and they're everything that I wanted. I can wear really cute tops that I've always wanted to. And like, I've always been like, I am confident with my body in the sense of like, once I got into my fitness journey, I was not confident when I was growing up. No, I was so insecure and I still have days that I am. But I wouldn't say I'm like, I think I was expecting it to fix everything is a better thing. That I was like, okay, now that I have boobs, I'm going to feel better about, my big shoulders and like my muscular figure because then I finally have boobs to match my muscles and my curves. And it didn't take that away. Like it didn't take that insecurity or that thought of this will fix my body. It didn't. So if you girls are thinking like I did, where I was like, maybe this will fix, my proportions and things like that, it won't. You're always going to want something different, something new, whatever it may be. Like even sometimes I'm like, I kind of wish it went a little bit bigger. But then at the same time, that I couldn't really do that, like I wanted it natural. And I'm really thankful I did that. And I do see myself keeping them. Personally, I just love them. I feel like they fit me. And I know that you do, which not a lot of people talk about this, that usually you should, like rule of thumb, get them changed out like 10 years is what I hear. Even if the implant lasts longer, like I bought the certain implant that's silicone gummy that like even if it ruptures, like it's not going to go everywhere or anything like that. You can have this implant for like 20 years. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't get them changed out because for health reasons, it may be better to take them out after 10. So maybe 10 years down the road, I get them taken out. Maybe I upgrade them. I have no idea. I think that depends on if Michael and I decide to have kids, whatever it may be. I think that'd be around that time. So right now I'm loving it. I don't have any negative side effects. Yes, sometimes it's annoying. I wish I could do push-ups, but to me, it wasn't a deal breaker. I made sure to write a pros and cons list for me, and the pros totally outweigh the cons. And I'm a very happy camper at this moment.
I love that. Ooh, which made me think of one thing. We never mentioned this, but there is 2 types of breast implants usually people have, a saline and a silicone. So saline is like a water balloon. It's like it's filled with water, salt water in that. And then what we both have is called like a gummy bear silicone. That's how I describe it. Think, you know, when like a gummy bear is like you cut it in half, it doesn't ooze out. That's what our implants are like. You cut it, that's what they're kind of called, gummy bears. Is like that's the texture of it. So it's less likely like even technically if they ruptured, they're not going to go anywhere. Place. Exactly. So well,
my grandma, she had breast cancer in one of her breasts, and she got through it. She is cancer free. I think it was back in her 40s. But so she got an implant on one of her breasts, and one of them actually, just for cosmetics, she just wanted them to match her other breast, and one of them ruptured. And during the surgery, it took hours because they had to pull that silicone out of her breast, out of that pocket, and it just took him hours to do it, where that's like really what I'm explaining is the difference in gummy versus just silicone is you have that chance of rupture. It can go everywhere. It literally was giving her pain. It was leaking into things. So she had to get it completely cleaned out. So that was why at the end of the day, I was like, I'm going to, get a little extra, pay a little bit more and get the gummy.
Worth it. That's okay. First of all,
simple silicone.
So glad she survived that. So little.
Yes,
that's amazing.
We love
strong woman. Strong women survive both those things. Like that's why you are as amazing as you are. You come from good genes. Women are badass like that. I love it.
We love Lanita.
I want to meet her now.
I know you will. You'll meet her
one day
at my wedding. She'll be there. Yes,
I was literally at a wedding. Me and Granny will just be in the corner.
Grandma Lanita.
Dancing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I will talk about my hatred of them. Why I hate my boobs.
Right.
Okay, that's heavy.
On a darker note.
I just want to clickbait that. That's going to be the first thing you hear. I hate my boobs. That's the first thing. But
and me, I love mine.
I know. It at the end of the day isn't that deep. But I think COVID was really nice in the sense it gave us a lot of time to really self-reflect with the noise that went away. And if you've seen me on YouTube, I've done a really lot of self-reflection on my own body, my own journey, all those kind of things. And I think the biggest thing for me, biggest thing was just really asking, like, why did I get them? Do I like these? Is this for me? What am I doing for other people? What am I doing for what I think not even like doing for other people, what do I think other people want of me? And like, you know what I mean? I think that was a big thing. I thought I'd be more attractive to the male gaze. I thought I'd be more attractive to, whatever companies. I thought to people, if I had this, then I would be quote unquote, what's more feminine to me. And I did like a lot of exploration of yoga. If you guys have seen my yoga journey of just like learning to flow and just like that, it's cheesy, but just like, what does being like a woman mean to me and just mean to me, and like the balance of masculine energy and feminine energy and just like where I kind of stand. And you can lean towards both, but I feel for a long time I was like an athlete. It was very masculine. I've just dived right back in. It was very, very like masculine. Like it was power, it was performance, it was for sport. It was never for me. And then I got into the fitness world, and it was just like, once again, my body is for my career, and it was very much just like, this will be me, what makes me look feminine, because having boobs is feminine. And it was never really taking the time to be like, when do I feel feminine? Now, what do I think will look feminine? And like, and that was a big realization for me. And I just, I got them, and right away I was kind of like, like I was never excited. And I remember a couple of my best friend Lexi, I love her, and she loves her boobs. She loves to show them off, and in the best way possible, as you should. And as your example, you want to, I never ever felt that way. I always remember, and it seems so obvious, but sometimes you don't really realize it. And that's why those thoughts in your head, like, really take time to like think about them. Is I would never dress to show them off. And I mean, I don't mean to like show them, like literally have them like hanging out, but like you wear an outfit because it creates a silhouette. And like, that was a big thing. I always caught myself dressing to hide them. I was like, oh, these annoying things. And I always caught myself. And I remember one of my childhood friends was naturally blessed with like F boobs. Like she was just always a big chest lady. She would always tell me, and I was a double A, she'd always tell me like, oh, it's so annoying to dress my boobs. And she didn't like it. And I was always like, that never dawned on me. And then one day it clicked. I was like, oh, I get what she's talking about. And it was such like and it was a weird feeling knowing I did that to myself. I hate dressing for something I purchased that wasn't even me. And that was like a ding, ding, ding moment of like, I was never excited. They got in the way. And so I would just find every outfit I wanted to wear would look better with my natural boobs. And I never enjoyed showing them off. Like I just didn't enjoy them. They never were proportional to my body. I think I made them for the wrong reasons. But it was funny looking back. I mentioned this at the beginning. I knew you weren't supposed to, like it. There was enough talk about them when I got them that I told people, oh no, I'm getting them for me. I want them. That's why I'm getting it. I'll feel more confident because that was the right thing to say to justify it. Because then people are like, oh, she's getting it for her. Deep down, I was not. And that's why if you're going to do plastic surgery, you have to do the work. Mentally, you really have to ask. And like Sav, you're a great example of like, it won't fix anything. And I know you're like, we get it, Keltie, stop preaching. We know plastic surgery. But do you? Do you? Because I told myself, this is like, I said it. I told myself, I lied to myself. Because at the end of the day, I like dressing with my natural boobs. And what I really needed to do was do the work to be like, what makes me feel feminine? What makes me feel sexy? What makes me feel those kind of things that I was searching for versus being told by other people, you look beautiful and sexy and feminine and woman. I was like, what will make me feel? And yoga was actually one of the best things for me. And just learning to not move, like I still love it. That's me through and through, moving like an athlete, strong, explosive. But the first time like I learned to move with like flow and grace and just feeling like sexy in movement. Yeah. And like once I started doing that, I was like, oh, this is feminine. Like, and I know we're not talking about it's a very hot topic, of course. We support whatever feminine, masculine energy, whatever you want to call yourself. We support all that. But I'm just saying for my own personal journey, I was never allowed to be feminine growing up because I played sports and it was very masculine and hard. And yet I was girly on the side. So it was always this contradiction. So it was really a journey in the last, I guess I'm going deeper. Then I was like, oh, it's not that deep. But for me, it was just a lot of self-reflection of why I got them. At the end of the day, they're annoying. That's what it comes down to. I was like, it doesn't really have to be that deep. I did a lot of searching for it. And then at the end, I was like, you know what? I looked down. I was like, I'd rather just wear a bandeau with a flat chest. They won't be in the way. When I play things like golf and tennis and swimming, I'll have a bit more range of motion. And it's kind of getting up to that 10-year mark. I have to replace them. You can leave them in. I was like, let's just get them out. Let's just take them out, see where my body's at. And it would be really nice to just have that sense of freedom and just be 100% me. So I'm just excited. I'm just excited to be like, what's on the other side? Are they going to hang low? Are they going to be this empty thing? Am I going to have any boobs? I guess I will say that because I get some questions. I'm not getting a lift. I'm not getting the capsules out. I'm just getting the breast taken out and going to see where my body goes because I'm still young. So the chances of my body like not needing a lift are still pretty high because I have good skin, my surgeon says. So there's a chance that like if I did a lift, it would be unneeded and then I have this massive scar. And there's a bigger risk, we never even mention this, when you get it, and especially when you get a lift, of losing your ability to lactate. So you might not be able to breastfeed. Wow. Yeah, so it's, like I said, not a medical professional, but there's always just, you're cutting around more. There's a bigger risk. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, maybe we'll want kids in a couple of years. I'll get the lift after they suck these babies dry. And then,
yeah, there you go.
And so like for right now, I'm just going to give them 6 months, but I won't lie. It's kind of dawning on me that I'm getting them out in a month and they could be hanging low because it's been in there for 10 years. There's a stretching. And like you said, I don't have that much. They're still quite perky. So I'm hoping that plays in my favor, but there is a chance that I just got some dangling tatas.
So, I'm so excited to see this.
Oh God, I will show you. I'll FaceTime right after and just be like, here we go. And I'll pop.
Yeah, you're just showing me it all.
Yeah, we'll film a full podcast because I'll have nothing to do for like 2 weeks after. So we'll document the recovery. I'm filming it all. Let's hope exactly. So we can just hope. And that's like another thing. if you're going to do this, just realize it is not a one-time purchase. It is, there's stuff like you could be in my boat. This might be my last surgery. I might have to go in for multiple ones. I'm hoping this is at the end and but who knows, after kids, I might want to just go fix everything up. We don't know. But for as now, let's just hope for a speedy recovery. And I want to be able to do chin-ups in a couple months. So that's the goal.
Exactly. And most importantly, all that matters is what you want. Because I feel like for a period, at least when I got my implants, people were like making comments. I was getting really mean messages from like moms and like crazy things people were saying to me. But like at the end of the day, it is whatever you want because it's your fucking body.
Yes.
Excuse my language.
No, drop the F-bomb.
Yeah, I will drop the F-bomb on that because if you just do it solely, like you said, for other people, you're not going to be happy. Mm-hmm. And you have to listen to what you want. And at the end of the day, nothing else matters. It's your body and your decision. And literally no one should be allowed to tell you anything. Yes. Unless it's a doctor giving you medical advice.
Mm-hmm. And I've talked about this. Yes, doctor. Then we got to listen. Then you're like, okay, I'll stop doing that. That's a different case. Listen to your doctors. But I think it's another reminder. Also, women's bodies, this is disgusting, but it's true, go in and out of fashion. So if you're doing it for Instagram, if you're doing this because this is what you've seen all over, and it's a weird thing. Like I think the BBL is a great example. Butts were in. They've been in for the last couple of years because they're Kardashians. And so a lot of people are doing that as a crazy surgery because that's 1 in 1,000 people die from that surgery. Like that is it's like insanely scary odds. Like it is, that's why I was like, you can do your own body, but just realize the BBL, I'm a little iff about that one because you can squat. You can change that with hard work. But that one just, you're risking your life so commonly from just the surgery, let alone all the results after, like just the surgery itself. But now big butts, I'm not saying big butts are in, curve, everybody's in right now. But like up till like a couple of years ago, it was very much that hourglass. And before that, it was the Victoria's Secret, tall and lean and big boobs, like the fake boob. That look was in. So you really have to, and speaking from experience, do you want to look in the mirror and be like, you just want to look in the mirror every day naked and be like, damn girl, I love you. Like that, you don't have to look perfect. You don't, just make sure whatever you do, it doesn't matter if no one else ever sees it. It doesn't matter if you never take an Instagram photo again. It's what will make you stand a little taller every day, feel good. If at all you're just constantly looking at other girls on Instagram or just like something someone's said about you, been like, and now you have this insecurities because they said, that's not always the best thing. It's really loving your body so much that you just want to look like what resonates the most with you and makes you the happiest at the end of the day, not what is going to get the most likes on Instagram. And once again, you're rolling your eyes. You're like, Keltie, I'm not doing it for the likes, but are you? Because I wasn't, but I kind of was at the end of the day, if you really think about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good ending note. Yes, that was a perfect bow. That was like 10 bows together. We were like, we're going to keep on going.
You know, like when people overly like wrap like a present with like 10 layers. So you open it, it's another box, and open it.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah, well, we in essence did that. We quadruple wrapped this. So you're like,
100%.
Here's the present. No, we got another one, and another, and another.
Yeah, we hear like plot twist. We talk a lot, and we get distracted.
That's why we have a podcast.
Yep. Speaking of distraction, do you want to tell them what the prompt is for them?
Yes. So we got to ask. So we want you guys to be involved. As much as this is a me and Sav conversation, the biggest thing is we're trying to make like a community of us, of the girls that want to go to spin class, go to a hard workout, lift weights, and then we're going to grab mimosas after. And if you're like, that's me, I'm like, yep, you found your people. And that's us. So we want you guys to find each other and get involved with the community. So we have our Instagram at Hitting the Bars. Hit us up. Slide into our DMs. And this week, we want you to leave us a funny story. It could be either at the bar or at the gym, something that just either happened to you or an embarrassing thing you have to get off your chest. Just like an embarrassing story, either at the gym, at the bar, something you have to get off your chest or something that will just make us cackle. Slide in, and we're going to tell a few of the stories on the next podcast and react to them. So slide our DMs, just let it off your chest, whether your pants ripped, you thought you were smacking your best friend's ass and it was some random, whatever it is, and we'll tell you guys some of our funny stories. But get involved. head on over there. Love talking to you like always, and have a great day. And everyone, hit us up, slide into DMs, and we'll talk to you next week.